My mom just faced legendary Grandmaster Anna Muzychuk. This was round 5 of Norway Chess, one of the biggest chess tournaments in the world, at least if you think about who's competing. Because in this tournament, we have some of the best, out of the best female chess players competing against each other. My mom has been invited as one of them, which is so fun. In the open section of Norway Chess, we have people such as Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Ding Liren, all here in Stavanger, Norway, competing for $160,000. But that is what my mom is doing as well in the female section. And in round 5, she was facing Anna Muzychuk, who is a Ukrainian grandmaster that is just a legend. She has peaked over 2,600 in FIDE rating, and she has been a runner-up for the Female World Chess Championship several times. Not me, but her and my mom have played chess a lot of times, and my mom actually has a great score against her with the white pieces, but in this game my mom had the black pieces, and I was so scared of her having the black pieces because I knew that her score against Anna Muzychuk was quite bad with black. Now, Anna Muzychuk also comes from a chess family because her sister Maria Muzychuk is also a chess grandmaster and has actually been the female world chess champion. So I just think it would be so cool if Anna also became world champion, because then both sisters would have been women world chess champion, which I think is just so cool. So there's lots of chess families here. I think this is just proof that families playing chess are awesome, and yeah, let's watch the game. Anna started with the move e4, and my mom replied c5. Knight f3, my mom got the knight out, and now she played this nasty move bishop b5. Now, why do I call it a nasty move? Because I actually absolutely hate facing this. So if you ever play me in a tournament, please don't play this. This is called the Rosalima attack, and my mom ended up playing e6. Sometimes white will capture this knight on c6, but here instead castles was played. Knight e7, d4, my mom took, and then knight g6. Now the idea is that she's keeping this pawn on d7, just defending this knight. So bishop e3, my mom got the bishop out, and all of these moves were played really quickly. So c3 defending the knight, and now castles. Rook e1, and this was the move that my mom actually after the game said that she hadn't prepared. She didn't think that Anna was going to play this. So my mom actually started thinking here for a while because she knew that she had looked at lines here several weeks ago, but she couldn't remember them during the game. So she ended up playing a6, threatening the bishop, and now, you know, the bishop could take on c6, but then white is just simply going to lose the bishop pair. So instead she played bishop f1 and retreated with the bishop all the way back, because bishops in chess are really good. So my mom played b5, and the idea is just to play probably bishop b7 at some point, and just taking a little bit of space here on the queen side. So knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, and they traded queens, and then the knight went out to d2. Now, this position is looking quite equal because they've traded the queens. It almost looked like this is an endgame, but this is actually not in any single way an equal endgame. Now my mom has because there's just so many options here. Now my mom has a few different options. Either she can play the move e5 or she can play the move c5. I thought that she was going to play the move c5 because this just looked very comfortable. You push this pawn one step, and the idea is that you want to place this pawn here on c4. Why? Because now if this knight ever comes up to c5, it's going to be easy to kick it away, but 2, because you're limiting the power of this bishop over here. So I thought that my mom was going to do this. However, she ended up playing the move e5 instead. Oh, she's about to make a move. There we go, she makes a move and she plays e5. Honestly, this kind of changes the whole game. This decision between e5 and c5 was a big decision. It was going to change the whole game. And the move e5 makes sense also because it opens up the square for the bishop. And it also opens up the square for the knight. So these are two different ideas, and my mom opted for this idea. So knight b3 was played. Anna's idea is to place this knight on c5. And my mom went knight f8. She wants to place either a knight on e6 or she wants to go bishop e6, knight d7, I thought. So this is a really nice way of kind of opening up squares for your pieces. So Anna ended up playing a4, And now my mom did a move that I think was probably a move that made the game after this very hard for her. Because it just became a very difficult position. She wasn't lost or anything like that, but it became a difficult position. My mom played the move Rook B8. What did she do? Rook B8? Rook B8? Okay. What an interesting move. So what is the idea of this? The reason is that she wanted to get the rook out of this file because right now the threat of white is to take here. You cannot take back with this pawn because the rook is hanging. So you have to take back with this pawn, but then the bishop can take this pawn because if you take back, once again, the rook is hanging. So she wanted to move the rook. A much easier move here to play would have been to, for instance, move something like bishop e6 because now my mom, she was a little bit worried about, both knight c5 and knight a5. But if knight a5, where the idea is to threaten this pawn and maybe enter with the knight, you just simply go rook a c8. You just defend the pawn. And now at some point, I'm not really sure exactly what you're going to do, you'll probably start playing things such as knight d7, and then you will just play out this position. And this rook can never really move because then you can take this pawn. So this would have been one way of playing it. If, for instance, after bishop e6, knight c5, my mom didn't want this because she didn't want to get rid of the bishop here, but actually here after bishop b3, she is very active, threatening this pawn. If takes, she can take back with the a pawn, and then she's doing absolutely fantastic. She'll place a knight on e6 and just have a very comfortable position. But she just, once again, didn't want to get rid of the bishop here. So here, instead of doing this, my mom played rook b8, but now the problem is that Anna was able to take here, and then now my mom needs to take back with the c pawn, because if she takes with the a pawn, then rook a7 is going to happen because of the rook not being here, and this rook gets very active. And if she takes with the c pawn, which is what she did, this pawn becomes a weakness for the rest of the game. So here my mom already had some problems. So actually I was really happy because my mom had more time, but I could tell that she had some problems in the position. So the bishop went to a7, rook a8. We see now that Anna started kind of asking my mom what she was going to do with her pieces, and then she went for this move, knight c5. This move is really good because either my mom gets rid of her bishops, which is what she did, or she goes rook d6. But this becomes scary because after this bishop moves, it can only really go here, because if here you win a piece. After this and knight d3, it looks like this rook is going to get trapped. It looks like the idea is simply for white to go bishop here, and then this rook is trapped. So this looks really scary. So my mom after this actually took, but now she had the long-term disadvantage of playing without the bishop pair. And if you don't have a bishop pair and you're facing a 2500 legendary grandmaster, you have some problems. And that is actually what she said as well. So a few moves happen, very logical. Bishop comes out, knight comes out. It looks like my mom is doing completely fine, but you will see just how strong this bishop pair will become very soon. So c4, this is a really strong move by Anna. The idea here is that now this pawn needs to do something. Now this move c4 was very strong because my mom needs to ask herself, what is she going to do with this pawn? If she pushes this pawn, then this move is coming, rook a4, threatening this pawn, and after she defends it, she simply goes rook a1, and you cannot defend this pawn on a5 anymore. And if this one falls, this one will fall, and this will be a losing endgame. So she can't push the pawn. She can also not really defend it in any way, because, well, if she goes here, then moves such as bishop b6 will come. So she ended up taking it, and now after rook c1, she has to play, well, honestly at this point, the position has started to become really difficult, because even though she's equal pawns, we see that this a6 pawn is just such a big weakness, and these bishops are so strong together. So here maybe she had to try something like knight d4. Instead she played rook d6, defending everything, which also makes sense, and now she defended this pawn. The game is by no means over here though, and the problem is just that it's a little bit more difficult for her to play. So she played king e8 because she wanted to protect this bishop with the king. The king is now starting to take a little path. Knight d8. Here as well, it's starting to become very passive. Maybe she should have played something like bishop c8. But the whole position is now very passive, so it also makes sense why she went here. She kept bringing the king up. Bishop g8, she defended the pawn. King g3. She played rook d3, attacking now this bishop with the idea of sometimes maybe there being also bishop takes pawn, and the pawn on f3 is pinned. So bishop moved up to c5, and now she played a5. And now, after rook b5, there's only one move that she can do if she wants to keep fighting in this game. She's worse, but there's only one move she can do. She has to move this pawn up to a4. This is already also a very, very difficult position because, well, the bishop is going to come down to f8. We see that all these pawns are in dark squares, which means that this bishop is just, it can just like Pac-Man these pawns. It can just eat them up or whatever you want to say. But the point here is that after she pushes up her pawn, if, for instance, Anna would take here, she also has some counter chances with taking on e4. So here maybe something like bishop g7 would have to be played, king e7. But this would at least give her, even though she is much worse here, this would at least give her some chances, because the thing is that if she trades any piece here, if she's just able to trade one piece without being a pawn down, it's a draw. If she's able to, especially if she can trade this knight for this bishop, and even if she loses a pawn in the process, it doesn't matter because it's going to be different colored bishops. So the important part now is just that she gets to trade pieces. However, after rook b5, instead of playing a4, which she told me later was her initial idea, she did, unfortunately, probably the worst move that she did in this game. Her only blunder this whole game, which was bishop c6. You almost have 10 minutes left on Anna Muzychuk. This is so little time. Come on. No, she doesn't do it. She goes bishop c6. She didn't play a4. Yeah, it actually might be over. And the reason there's a blunder is honestly because any move apart from a4 is a blunder. So now the problem is that she loses this pawn on a5, and I guess she thought that she would get some play with her pieces, but after the knight comes up, now rook a7 is the only move, pinning this knight. And the problem now is that, sure, immediately maybe she's not going to be taking these pawns, but the problem is that the bishop comes back to c4, kicking away this rook. Anna Muzychuk is playing this perfectly. And here we see that after this, the bishop comes down to f8, and it's just impossible to protect these pawns. If you go rook d7, then this bishop is coming in here, and it's going to attack the rook, and the rook has to leave. So now this was a very difficult position. My mom was trying desperately to find something. She only had 30 seconds on the clock, and she ended up actually sacrificing her knight to get this endgame, because now at least if the rooks get traded, it's a draw. She thought, okay, if she has some chances of getting the king down to h8, maybe something magically could happen. The point here is just that if these rooks get traded, it's a draw, because even though white is up a bishop and a pawn, because the pawn is promoting to a dark square, this bishop cannot attack this square, which actually means that if the king gets down here, it's a draw, even if you're a bishop and pawn down. But the problem is that the rooks are still on the table. So my mom played a few more moves, but in this position, she ended up resigning. And she was telling me after this game that she just felt sad because she felt like she hadn't played her best chess. But she also said that the problem was the opening. She got a bad opening, and when she's under pressure for a long time, just like with anyone, at some point it's easy to crumble when you're under pressure for so many hours. So she ended up losing this game. This was her second game in Classical that she lost. She still has 3 draws in this tournament in Classical versus much stronger players. So she still is okay-ish happy, but she really wants to win a Classical game. So hopefully we will see her winning a Classical game very soon. Wish her good luck for the next round. Now after this, she's going to play against all the players again. So we're going to see her facing everybody again, but now with alternate colors. So I am sure that we're going to be seeing some amazing games. And I know that when my mom plays the best, she can absolutely beat these players. And that's what we've seen in the first few rounds. She had amazing positions. So I hope she gets in the next few games a good position and that she just doesn't feel under pressure for a very long time. So wish her good luck in the comments down below, and hopefully we'll be seeing a classical win very soon. I am hoping that at least, and I'm very proud of her for, playing such a strong tournament. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one for round number 6 of Norway Chess.